Gail, you're amazing. I love Gail. Go for Gail.
Ready?
Hello and welcome to the Howard Today is September 28th. Excuse me. Today is September 24th. I don't want to get ahead of myself. 2018.
Thank you, Pam. Good morning, Robin. How you doing down there?
Oh, good morning, Howard. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, happy indeed. Hey, gotta share a story with you. Ever since I started growing my beard out, I've been getting these really, really great looks.
Really, Howard? What kind of looks?
Oh, Robin, I'm talking about looks of desire and lust.
No.
I know you don't believe
There's
this.
no looks of desire. This morning on the elevator, you were told you look like a bear. I know what to get you for Christmas. It's a grooming subscription.
Look, I know you don't believe this, but I have sex appeal, and right now it's oozing out of my beard.
The only thing that's oozing is just, The only thing that's oozing is just looks of disgust. You think you're totally out of touch with reality.
Well, you know, I got another story to share with you. So I'm at the bar, I'm chatting up this gorgeous fan, and we know she's talking to me
You
because
need a
of my awesome
reality check,
beard.
Howard.
Well, anyways, this guy walks up, and he wants to buy me a beer.
Howard, tell me that you wouldn't let him buy you a beer. He's a fan. We give fan t-shirts.
Hell no. Free beer? I'm not going to turn that down.
Robin, here's reality for you. You're Howard Stern, right? You make $90 million a year. You're on a 5-year contract. You're oozing the green stuff, my man. That's what's the lust. It's the money, money, money.
Speaking about money, 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 did you hear that the Brain Trust upstairs just shelled out $3.5 billion in cash to buy Pandora? That's a lot of money going out the door.
It's $3.5 billion in stock, not cash, Howard. The issue, Howard, here is that the stock you have in SiriusXM just dropped in value today. Sirius's market cap dropped about $3.1 billion.
Holy cow.
That's something you need to be worried about. You need to call your financial advisor ASAP because your stock portfolio just took a huge dump.
Now I
You
wish
need
I
to
got
get
it.
rid of the worrying about the sex appeal right now, and you need to be worried about your job.
Well, now I wish I would have bought me 2 beers.
Howard, you're the cheapest rich person I know.
You know what, Robin? This conversation's got me really concerned. Why don't we get Jim Cramer and Emily Chang on the horn here?
Yes, definitely.
My mission is simple, to make you money. I'm here to level the playing field for all investors. There's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to help you find it. Mad money starts now.
Rayman, how's it going? Welcome to the Howard Stern Show.
Howard, have you heard the news about Pandora? It's What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They have no idea what they're doing. I've done a lot of segments over the years on Pandora, and every single one of them has ended with sell. Pandora's stock is garbage, and Sirius should be running from this deal as fast as they can. I don't understand. Why didn't they buy Spotify? I love Spotify.
So, Kramer, you think this is a bad deal for SiriusXM?
Howard, aren't you listening to me? Of course this is a bad deal. Sirius has just hitched itself to a sinking ship. You know, I have this show. It's called Mad Money. It's on Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius Radio. Do you think those seriously stupid executives ever bother to listen? They pay me to give financial advice. They never write, they never call, they never stop by my show. Oh, Howard, I'm so angry about this. I just need a minute. I'm speechless. I just have to think.
Oh, Robin. I don't think I've ever seen Kramer this bad with the
I'm not
speechless.
worried about him.
We should get Emily Chang on the phone here. Can you pull her up?
Absolutely.
Good morning, Emily Chang. How are you doing today?
Hello, Howard. How are you today?
I'm not doing too hot.
I'm so sorry to hear that. But haven't you heard the exciting news about Sirius and Pandora?
What's so exciting?
Seriously exciting.
Why is this?
Well, about 2.5 months ago, I sat down with the CEO of Pandora, Roger Lynch, and we discussed what a prime acquisition target Pandora really is. It was almost as if Greg Maffei and Jim Meyer were listening to our conversation and took my advice. Sorry, did you say something?
No, sorry, Emily. Go on. Why is Pandora such a great target for us to get?
Well, it's a no-brainer, really. Pandora's revenues are on the rise. 70% of those revenues come from ad sales. They're not tied to a subscription model like Spotify is. And Pandora basically owns the digital audio advertising market.
You hear that, Emily? It's the market calling. Oh, you don't understand? We'll allow me to translate for you. It's the master of finance come to school you. Kramerica!
Hello, Kramer. I didn't realize you were on this call.
Well, it wouldn't be a call about finance without me, would it? But please, don't allow me to interrupt more of your West Coast delusions.
Look, I'll admit, Pandora has had its struggles.
Struggles? You call 5 years of negative EBITDA and 5 years of negative cash flow and net losses struggles? You know, it's like my old professor used to say, more money, more Cunningham. More money, so no Cunningham.
I agree. Pandora's management has made some very poor decisions. But that's what makes them such a prime acquisition target.
Okay. I've had enough. I can't take any more, Jim and Emily. Thanks for confusing me even more. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Howard. Have a good day.
Howard, I'm worried about you.
Howard, remember, this deal is sell.
I
Robin.
think you need some psychiatric help. We have doctors in the house, don't worry.
So, Robin, I don't know about you, but I'm just as confused. So that's why I'm really happy to introduce my next guest, Jim Meyer, the CEO of SiriusXM, here to join us. Jim, always great to have you. Thanks for stopping by.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Howard.
So I'm just going to get to the point, Jim. Do we still have a job here?
Howard, I want to reassure you and our shareholders that SiriusXM is not going out of business.
That is good news.
This is going to be a great deal for SiriusXM as well as Pandora. In fact, I have members of the All-In Consulting team with me here today who were hired to confirm that this was the right move moving forward. And I have with me Lorena, Kirk, and Karla. Together with me, will answer any of your questions to lay your concerns to rest.
All right. So, Lorena, what do you think Pandora has to offer SiriusXM?
Well, thank you for the question, Howard. SiriusXM, as you know, core competencies are original, amazing content like this very show,
That's right.
ad-free radio. They have great relationships with automakers, which leverage satellite technology, enabling them to broadcast the same content nationwide, not to mention the 360L. Sirius could really expand its offering. Exciting stuff if you ask me. On the other side, you have Pandora. Pandora has its patent technology. They have a very strong analytics and revenue model that really plays them to have a win-win situation for both listeners and partners.
Okay, so you think this is a good deal, but why did the market not think that?
Well, the market is worried, and let me tell you why. The market is worried because even though Pandora blazed the trail with their genome project and has about approximately 20 years of analytics and basically owning the digital audio advertising market, they've only reported net losses. That's right, Howard. Sirius is buying a company with net losses.
Lorena, we have 12 million users. Did you know that?
Yes.
Well, with net losses, I mean, how is that good for any company?
That's no bueno.
No, no bueno.
No bueno. That is no bueno. But I gotta tell you, Howard's beard is making me feel a little bit better about that.
Oh, no.
He's one sexy
What's
man.
wrong with his beard?
So Lorena, I'm still confused, not understanding. Do you have anything else to share?
Absolutely. Let's learn a little bit more about Pandora and Sirius.
Hi, I'm Pandora. Oh, sorry. I couldn't hear you. I was grooving to the sounds of Willie Nelson. I'm Sirius XM.
Grooving? I don't think anyone uses that word anymore.
Okay, hip Pandora guy. What do they say?
We say tight.
Yeah, like the jeans you're wearing.
These are skinny jeans, and they're much cooler than those make hammer pants that you're wearing.
Touche. By the way, it's MC Hammer.
You're impossible. Let me explain to you how Pandora is going to save SiriusXM.
Don't you mean how we'll save you?
No, let me explain. So Pandora is a cool and hip music streaming service with over 70 million users. And what makes us unique is we tailor the music specifically to the user. We utilize something very specific called the Music Genome Project, which takes the thumbs up as well as the thumbs down and ultimately builds radio stations specifically to the user. I mean, I'd say that's pretty cool, right?
That is impressive. Sirius is an alternative to AM/FM radio in cars, and we account for 33 million subscribers. Not to mention, our services start as low as $5 a month.
Wait, you guys have to pay for your services? Because at Pandora, we offer our services for free.
Don't you have to listen to ads?
Well, kinda.
Well, Sirius doesn't have any ads.
That's a plus. Why don't you tell me more about that?
But we offer news, music, and special content, like Howard Stern. And Snoop Doggy Dogg. I hope you know who Snoop Doggy Dogg is.
Snoop Doggy Dogg? Yeah, man. He's like totally a cool game show host. Huh. I can see this virtual working out.
How do you like me now?
Hashtag touche.
It's a hashtag. Are you high?
Thank you so much for sharing that. But it's very sexy Spotify put into this. I keep hearing about Spotify.
Thank you for your question, Robin. You asked way more better questions than Howard does. I appreciate that.
I don't like
So, even though Spotify is a threat, let me tell you, SiriusXM is actually in the radio industry. And for that fact, AM/FM is its true competitor. That's right, Howard, AM/FM radio. They have approximately 250 million users. And despite their users disliking the service, they continue to stick with it, even if they hate it.
So that's interesting. You've given me a lot of good stuff to think about, but how does this create any value?
Howard, I think I can answer that question for you with our
Please.
business strategy post-merger. So as you guys can see on the chart,
Didn't a child prodigy do this kind of?
hey man, someone's got to do it.
Wow.
So this business strategy that's implemented in front of you, basically there's a lot going on. But to simplify it a bit, if you look at the light blue areas as well as the purple, this is pre-merger of Pandora. If you look at the dark blue and purple, this is a strategy of SiriusXM pre-merger. Then once again, we look at the big picture. You see that there's a lot of potential synergies as well as a true value system in place for both these companies to work together. So to answer your question directly, Howard, about where the value lies with Pandora being added to this system, I'm going to go over 4 key areas. The first deals specifically with the epicenter of this strategy, which is the volume of users. As you can see, all the circles hit the volume of users, and by adding Pandora to the mix, there's over 100 million listeners in this ecosystem.
Thanks, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And then to add to that too, now they are bigger than Spotify and have the most listeners in their ecosystem. So moving on to revenue generating streams. By adding Pandora in the mix, SiriusXM was only able to tap into subscriptions via their content. But now they have the opportunity to tap into the ad-supported, like AM/FM radio, and they also have on-demand streaming, which is subscription-based, very similar to Spotify. So moving on to the third thing is audience reach. And audience reach pertains particularly to all the different platforms that you can play music on. So of course with SiriusXM, they have a stronghold in the automaker industry, but with adding Pandora, they're going to have a lot more knowledge and experience to be able to tap into these mobile, all these different devices. There's just a lot of new opportunities for them to learn and leverage. Moving on to the fourth area, which in some ways could be the most important for their strategy moving forward, deals specifically with user data. Because before, SiriusXM depended solely on satellite broadcast, which it's very hard to tap into user data. But just like Pandora, with its knowledge over 20 years of gathering information about the music people listen to, not only is it going to support a B2B play when they advertise, if they choose to advertise, but more importantly, they're going to understand the listener and understand the type of content they should be creating.
Howard, wait, there's more.
There
Now
is-
that we understand the value here, Kirk, can you explain to us how we're going to make this happen by explaining to us the short-term and mid-term strategies?
No problem. So once this deal closes, assuming it will close, we recommend that the short-term strategy should focus on profit maximization as well as operational efficiency. Because, once again, these are areas that can be handled immediately after the merger happens. So the first focuses on cost synergies. Both these companies are in a similar industry, so there's a lot of opportunity to consolidate SG&A. And then once again, too, being in a similar industry, there may be new opportunities to get better deals for renegotiating contracts with some of these music labels. So speaking of deals, the next section that we would recommend deals specifically with bundling. If SiriusXM does decide to add advertising into their model by leveraging what Pandora brings to the table, there's a lot of new opportunities to bundle with advertisers to be able to utilize across services. And then of course with subscriptions, whether it's on demand like Spotify and some of these other things, you also get all of SiriusXM's great content. So that's something that you can leverage right off the bat. Moving on to the third thing. If Pandora does anything right, it's marketing and more importantly their sales force with the B2B media and advertising. So we want to leverage that and we want to build on the excitement of this merger and we want to excite new partners to work with us, whether it be through other systems we're going to talk about later, or it's just through advertising and generating new listeners. So lots of cool things that can potentially happen right away.
Pretty cool, Kirk. All right, Jim, do you remember our last contract negotiation, or my last contract negotiation?
Not quite, remind me.
I only asked you to do one thing, man. Do you remember that? Show me the money.
Show you the money.
Come on, Jim, show me the money.
Show you the money?
Jim, show me the money.
Show me the money.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, Karla, show the man the money.
Brace yourself, Howard. I'm about to make all of your financial fantasies come true.
Ooh, hey now. You single?
We're going to start by checking out the balance sheet. For accountants, this is kind of a frightening picture. You have a lot of debt and negative owner's equity. Now we're going to check out the Pandora balance sheet. Much more properly proportioned, but on a much smaller scale than Sirius. So what do you think is going to happen when we combine them? Well, by the magic of issuing more stock for the purchase and sprinkling in a lot of goodwill.
Sounds like a cupcake.
Yeah, delicious. We end up with a much healthier balance sheet. But the magic doesn't end in the balance sheet. It runs all the way through financials, like in these ratios, for example. And I've gone ahead and we've color-coded these ratios to help you identify.
It's color-coded.
Yep, red is bad, and green is good,
Green is good.
and yellow needs improvement.
Yellow is improvement, like you.
Thanks, I think you should go to business school.
So on its own, Pandora appears to be kind of struggling a little in some areas, and if we check out Sirius's, the same ratios, also struggling in some areas. So what do you think is going to happen when we combine them? Magic. They start to look a lot better. And I think the thing I want you to also understand about this combined ratio analysis is that this considers zero synergies. And Kirk has already discussed that we are going to see some synergies, probably 2 to 15% reduction in the first 2 years for SG&A, as well as some cost of goods sold reduction. So these numbers are only going to continue to get better. But there's more. We went on and we went ahead and did a discounted cash flow analysis where we valued the companies. Here we valued Pandora.
Is that called financial modeling?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, sexy. Except this slide is not, because this is sort of terrifying. If you have a sensitive stomach, you may want to leave the room. This is a negative value. It's in the millions. That means you need to add 6 zeros to the end.
I'm sticking it out every zeros.
Yes. So this kind of gave us nightmares for a while, and we kind of understood how people are a little nervous in the market, and investors are scared. People like you, Howard, are wondering what's going on. But the thing you have to understand about Pandora is it's truly a revenue-generating machine. It's almost like they print money in their back office. Revenues continue to rise year over year, but the problem is they have
really poor management, and they spend a lot of money, which leads them to always be negative. Pandora needs some help. They're under pressure, they need help, and they need it fast. So this takes us to Sirius. We valued Sirius, looks much better, close to $24 billion, and they're a much more stable company. They are going to be reliable, they have great management, thank you, Jim, and they have really great resources that are going to help Pandora right the ship. So now you'll notice this is 24 billion, the previous slide was negative 4 billion, so if we netted them, we're at a 20 billion, just netting them together. But what happens if we really combine them and we see some synergies? Well, exciting stuff. This gives us a value on the combined company of about 30 billion, and that's taking some very conservative numbers. We only gave them 6% growth for 5 years, 2% after that, and we looked at only cutting SG&A by 2%. So I don't know about you, Howard, but I would give up a tiny bit of dilution on my negative stockholders' equity stock for this kind of a return.
So you take $10 billion?
All day long. We could go shopping.
So how do you financially modify with sexy Spotify?
Well, Spotify did come into our questioning because a lot of people are talking about Spotify, and we wanted to compare Spotify with Sirius as well. And here you'll see Spotify has some problems of its own, very high debt similar to Sirius. So when you look at the combined picture of Spotify and Sirius, it doesn't look as sexy and good as it does with Pandora. Looking at
Because if Sirius kind of just opened up Pandora's box.
you hit it. That's right. Yes. So if you see them together now, you can do a comparison and see how it looks. Sirius's financial outlook looks much better with Pandora than with Spotify.
I'm absolutely impressed. It looks like you guys have really done your homework.
Thank you.
So Karla, if I'm getting this right, just by merging the two companies, we're just a financially healthier company?
Yes. So in the near future, you can buy your own beer.
I don't like the sound of that.
Hey Howard, but I think I can one-up it too, because I know Jim mentioned we were going to talk about some midterm strategies that we'd like to implement too. So after the first 2 years, once again, we'd like to kind of take it away from profit maximization exclusively as well as operational efficiency, because we think these things are going to continue as long as we focus on the next thing, which is the listeners. So in order to do that, we want to drive value and growth. So for us to do that, I'm going to go all the way back to what Lorena was saying, and we should focus first specifically on AM/FM radio, because it's SiriusXM's biggest competitor immediately, and now they have an opportunity to tap into a $21 billion industry that's driven by ads, which of course before they were never able to do. So our recommended tactic that we like to implement is something we like to call Pandora XM. It's going to be 2 channels on satellite radio, and basically they're going to both be ad supported. And then with them, one is going to be focused exclusively on SiriusXM curated content. So shows like Howard Stern, ad supported, play some clips. It's going to be pretty awesome for people to test it out. And then on the other side, we want to do something we like to call the Pandora Genome Project channel. And basically this is going to be a true hit list streaming channel. So unlike your typical hot list radio station, this is actually going to take topical, real world, real time, real data, and implement a station that's going to play music that's popular. So it's unique to the station, and it's something that's easily accessible to anyone that has a vehicle. They just need to set up their username or their Pandora username with their VPN number of their car, and then they're all set up and good to go. So then the next tactic we want to implement is something we like to call the SiriusXM loyalty program. So retention is also very important. It's one thing to gain listeners, it's another thing to keep them. So our plan, of course, is leverage our partnerships, whether it's through Pandora that we've acquired and can work with and continue to work with, or it's just through SiriusXM. But there's a lot of cool ways to build loyalty and retention because it's
Kirk,
so
I have to interrupt that. I heard loyalty, I heard retention, I heard rewards. I'm very loyal to Howard.
Oh yeah?
I don't have a rewards program. We need to talk.
I can help you.
I need strategy.
Years now.
Hey, I can help you. But on that note, we all know that strategy, our finance of course follows strategy. So I'm going to let Karla talk about that.
says the strategist who can never get to the point. So here we have the valuation of best case. We don't need to re-review the Pandora and Sirius individually. If we remember, they net at 20 billion. This slide shows best case, making all of Kirk's wishes come true, and we come to a valuation of 52 billion. So that's 32 billion above our original, which ends up creating abundance.
So, my mind is blown right now. It really looks like you guys did your homework. Jim, you're looking like a genius. Before we wrap up here, is there anything you want to add?
I'd like to add a few points here. You know, it's not a secret. We've held a minority stake in Pandora for a little over a year now. We've held 3 seats on the board. We really understand their business model, as you can see, and we're really excited and optimistic about this merger. You know, we've tried to get Pandora to be part of our portfolio since 2015 when we tried to acquire them for $15 a share, but things just didn't work out then.
No kidding.
We're trying again this time. We're putting it for $10 a share, and we're ready for the change management piece. See, I want to ensure that our post-merger talent has the correct incentive in place, that has the right organizational structure and leadership in place, that we have the relevant processes in effect, so that we can make the onboarding process as painless as possible, so that we can all have a positive work experience. And that's not the end of it. We are even further more excited about becoming the largest audio entertainment company in the world. With 7 satellites in the sky by 2020, we're going to be able to custom tailor the content for our users based on their own user dislikes and likes. And that's not where the journey ends. Our vision is to continue to push forward with our 360L, with our autonomous vehicle, with our video streaming, and eventually develop our satellite services. And we want to take our footprint globally to places like India, places like Brazil, and maybe one day, China. That's going to create the value for our users.
Wow. Jim, I don't know about you, Robin, but I'm super impressed and excited about our company's future. All in consulting, thanks for coming in and clearing up any confusion that Robin may have had. I see the call-ins are busy and blowing up here. Let me play a quick promo for the Jim Cramer Show, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, welcome back.
Oh man.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.